It's time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. Okay. So, guys, I just wanted to say welcome back. And again, I'm going to keep saying it probably the rest of January. Happy New Year. Guys, I'm so excited today because we got Real Housewives of Dallas back. And after watching the premiere, I just have to say to you all that I feel like Real Housewives of Dallas is such an underrated. I feel like it's just underrated. It's an underrated show. I mean, if you watch the premiere, it was so good. Honestly, Tiffany Moon is coming in like a spitfire. Like, she is coming in so hot. If you guys missed it, just kind of to give you a little bit of backstory, everyone's wondering, how did Tiffany Moon even get hired? So I did an interview with Mama D Simmons on my YouTube channel, and she went on to explain that she found Tiffany Moon, who was her anesthesiologist, and as soon as she met her, she knew she was a part of the Moon family. She knew what kind of money she had, and she called Andy Cohen and she said, "Andy, what are you doing?" And he said, "I'm out here skiing." And she said, "Okay, well, I don't give a rip, and I need you to get here and meet this woman because you're going to love her and she's going to be our new favorite housewife." And he said, "Well, Mama D, I'm busy." And she's like, "I don't care. You need to get here and get here fast." And that's exactly how Tiffany Moon got hired. Within that same very week, Mama D claims within the same 3 days, Andy Cohen flew to Dallas, met Tiffany Moon, met with her family, saw her house, and kind of got a good idea of what her personality had to offer to the group. And boom, she's our new housewife. Unlike the other housewife, Jen, who is just kind of a friend of. Guys, if you haven't already, before we jump in, make sure you hit that like button, show some love, and I'm going to go ahead and drop the call-in link for whenever anybody wants to call in. You guys are more than welcome. And before we also get started, I just want to say we're sending all the love to one of our favorite angels, Kim. Kim right now is having some health issues, but we're sending her a lot of love and praying for her because we need her back here immediately, and we just want her to get better as soon as possible. I don't want to get emotional, but let's get started. Okay. Theo already said Tiffany is such a breath of fresh air. Yes, I agree. Guys, so we start off this episode with Cameron. Cameron got a new dog since her previous dog passed away, and that makes me so sad because I always say this about animals. We don't deserve them. Animals are the best. But she did get a new dog that is a totally different breed, a Pomeranian. I grew up with Pomeranians. I find them to be extremely annoying, very yappy. I love them. I love the Pomeranians I grew up with, but they're just this nervous energy of a breed, and they're very vocal. Okay, let's just say that. The one I grew up with was named Lady and then Peanut, but this one's name is Fancy. Fancy ended up going to a school to learn some sort of obedience, an obedience school, I guess. But as soon as Fancy arrives back, it's like, bam, this dog is yapping, it's peeing on the treadmill, it's going all over the place, and Cameron has a soft spot for animals, right? So she's immediately just saying, listen, he's overstimulated. Fancy's overstimulated. That's the problem. And it's like, come on, give us a break. Fancy is just a hot mess. Either you need to find a new obedience school or, I mean, something needs to change here because it doesn't totally add up. This dog is kind of off the charts. But what the real kind of tragedy is here is finding out how her previous dog passed away. After her husband, or she left, her husband Court was supposed to give her dog a certain medication that kept it going. Unfortunately, she found out that the husband forgot to give the dog the medication, and that probably was the reason for the passing of her dog, which is terrible. It sounds like, and I hate to say this, but it just sounds like a little bit of neglect. But we'll keep it moving because, honestly, we all forget things, and it's I guess you live and you learn. Guys, 61 in the room. Let's go ahead and hit that like button. Let's see if we can get to 100, and let's move on to the slip and slide extravaganza. Brandi and Stephanie end up meeting up, and Stephanie immediately calls us out as viewers because as soon as they meet up, they're hugging and they're touching each other. And producer said to Stephanie, "Are you guys supposed to hug during coronavirus?" And she said, listen, We're filming a TV show. We've tested and tested and tested again, negative. We've done everything that we're supposed to. Yes, we can hug, so don't attack me on Twitter. When Stephanie comes over with her boys, she meets up with Brandi and her girls to take their gymnastic mats out to the yard, throw a little bit of baby oil on them, some water, and turn it into a big slip and slide. It looks like they're having a lot of fun. It looks like Brandi and Stephanie are a little bit of hot messes, but the real kind of interesting moment in this was when they were sitting there drinking their, I think they're Bonvoys, which, guys, Bonvoys, White Claws, Trulies, these are all nasty drinks. I have to say I had the worst experience with the Truly in my life. I think I had like 8. I'm not even going to say, no, I can't even get into it, but it was awful. So I will never have a Truly again. Nothing against anybody who likes them, but my own personal experience. Anyways, moving back to Stephanie and Brandi. Stephanie and Brandi sit down and talk about a really hard moment for Brandi. Guys, after Brandi came out and she made a video, actually this video to be exact. Thank you, Reality Wives, for sharing this. She made a video kind of mocking what sort of Asian culture, or where she would be and what kind of Asian she would be in this video. She was trying to mimic herself to sound like she was a part of the Asian culture, and she was also trying to take her eyes and do a certain motion. It was really honestly awful. But she was crying because she felt like, with all of the backlash, that she had to check herself into some sort of help facility where they could help her because she was about to take her own life. Now, whether this is a storyline or whether it's for real, you don't want to take a moment like that away from anybody, because we don't honestly know what people go through unless you're in their shoes. Brandi's a public figure, and I'm sure a lot of people attacked her over this because it was wrong. It was totally wrong. You can't sit there and make videos and attack people for their culture, their religion, their race. It's disgusting and despicable. But it seems like Brandi learned her lesson. I mean, honestly, Brandi was coming forward and she's like, I'm sorry. I feel like I don't deserve to be here. I apologize. Like, I just felt like I wasn't supposed to be a part of this life anymore, or this earth, or even Bravo. She took it to an extreme. I mean, her feelings at least. But what viewers are having such a hard problem with is right before filming, Brandi put this out. It's a good impersonation, if I do say so myself, and there was no harm done. I would do it again for a good audition. Have a great day. That's the problem here. A lot of people are having a problem with that statement because they feel like there is no remorse behind it. Now, looking at it, it's hard to watch her crying on a screen, but also know that the same person put out this message and saying that she would do it again. Honestly, it's like, where do we draw the line at this point? That's how I feel about it. But before we move forward, guys, 110 in the room. Let's see if we can get 150. I'm going to drop the link, and I'm going to go ahead and start talking about Tiffany Moon, because Tiffany Moon ends up calling out Brandi in this episode towards the end to find a to be continued. But let's just move on and see how we met Tiffany Moon exactly. Guys, for those of you who are just entering in the room, I said this at the very beginning of this video. I sat down with Mama D Simmons, and when she says she doesn't give a rip, she's not kidding. Mama D sat down and gave me all the scoop on Tiffany Moon, our newest housewife. Now, guys, we were introduced to 2 new women this episode, and it was Jen and Tiffany Moon. Tiffany Moon was founded by Mama D, and she was her anesthesiologist, along with a long list of other occupations and achievements on her resume. Tiffany Moon is obviously a spitfire, and when I say that, I mean that she is coming in hot. She's coming in to hold people accountable. She says what she wants, and she just feels like she is an overachiever who has kind of been there, done that, and she can... I want to say she thinks she can do what she wants, but I think she was coached to think this. Mama D also, remember, I did say this at the beginning, called Andy Cohen and had him fly from Aspen to Dallas to come meet the Moon family. She was certain. She's like, listen, You have to meet this woman. She's going to be amazing. She's going to be the new favorite housewife. And that's exactly what Andy Cohen and the rest of the Bravo producers did. They flew down, they met her, they sat with her, they interviewed her, and they obviously liked her enough to sign her on the show. Mama D doesn't have a contract with Bravo. She's one of the few people who don't have a contract with Bravo, so she can say whatever she wants. She doesn't have to answer to anybody. She's not signed or contractually silenced by NBC or any other company. So that just gives Mama D the freedom to be Mama D. When Mama D actually sits down with Deandra and her daughter and Tiffany, it was interesting because right before sitting down, she was talking about how proud she was of her daughter Deandra for taking this company that she'll make sure that you know that she left her. And it was a successful business when she left it to her. And she also gave her a $100,000 loan. Well, she said she gave her $100,000. I'm just assuming that it would be a loan because this is Mama D we're talking about. She likes her money and she's going to make sure that she gets it back, I feel. I mean, this is definitely all hearsay, but I'm just saying. It really is an odd relationship, though, because Mama D is always constantly letting Deandra know her place and how Mama D is up here. She's like, I left you a successful business. Your dad would be so proud of me for leaving this business to you and giving you $100,000 to carry this business over. And then boom, COVID and coronavirus hit, taking Deandra and her business right back to where she was to begin with. I think COVID and coronavirus did that to a lot of different companies and businesses, along with Carrie, also part of the Real Housewives of Dallas. It's sad. This past year, 2020, has been hard for so many people and their businesses, and this is just another example of what exactly that means. Guys, 150 in the room, go ahead, hit that like button. But let's go on to talk about, I guess, more about Tiffany Moon. When Tiffany Moon comes over and she meets up with Deandra Simmons and Mama D, she sits down and she's kind of an honorary Simmons, except she's a Moon, which is next level. She's, as Mama D and Deandra say, she's the skinnier daughter. She's the more accomplished daughter. She's the richer daughter, or the more rich. I mean, I don't know how to say that, but she is the daughter who is the overachiever, even though she's not a daughter to Mama D at all. When they're talking to Tiffany, she says that she's so excited to meet most of the girls, but one of the girls in particular that she's not the most excited to meet would be Brandi Redmond. You know, again, going back, Brandi Redmond made this controversial video that was completely inappropriate, and Tiffany saw it, and it brought up some feelings from Tiffany's past and growing up for her. It made her feel a certain way, and rightfully so. Anybody a part of a certain again, religion, culture, or race who has been attacked in some sort of way, it's not appropriate. And when somebody else does it, it doesn't make it right. And it also can obviously bring up some hard emotions and some experiences that maybe you don't want to go back and revisit. So for Tiffany Moon to come in and seeing this video, I'm sure she would not be the most excited to meet Brandi Redmond. I'm sure she wouldn't have been on the top of Tiffany's list to be like, hey, I want to be friends with her. Even though I'm going to get to this in a little bit, she did call Tiffany out, or Tiffany did call Brandi out at the end. I think that Tiffany has a right to feel the way she does. I'm going to bring up a caller real quick before I carry on into Cameron's ridiculous garage sale. I have Dana in the room, and I've missed Dana so much, by the way. It's a happy new year, and it's my first time seeing Dana for this new year for 2021. And along with Dana, I'm wishing the rest of you guys, alongside Kim and everybody else, a beautiful 2021 and a happy new year, because guys, we're going to take this new year and just take it over. And we're going to do the best we can to have the best year, especially after a ridiculous year that we just had. Hi, Dana.
Hi.
How are you?
A little under the weather, but okay.
Oh, you look pretty.
Oh, thank you.
Did you dye your hair?
No.
No?
It must be the lighting.
Oh, well, it looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Did you watch this episode?
Yes, I did, because I love Dallas.
I was so pleasantly surprised. I just want to say I didn't start watching Dallas until season 3. And, you know, I thought that this season would be such a dud with Leanne Locken being out of it. No, it wasn't.
I mean, I like her gone. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, because honestly, when they did the flashbacks in this episode asking Carrie what exactly kind of is the difference between Brandi's video and the way that Leanne behaved, just the compilation of it was ridiculous.
Well, I mean, Leanne tends to suck the room out of the air. I mean, sucks the air out of the room. I got that way backwards.
I mean, it could be both, to be honest.
Yeah.
I did a video with Leanne. I did an interview, and she was an absolute sweetheart to me. I just want to say that. But watching the compilation of her calling Carrie a chirping this, and you're so tough, and you're Mexican, and you're this, it's just like, wow, it's really tough to watch.
I mean, because when she was doing that kind of stuff, it was just, her intention was always vile. There was just a negativity and an anger behind it, and her point was always to hurt somebody. There was no, there was always microaggression between everything she did. There was never an ignorance behind it or an accident behind it.
Right.
So
okay,
I had a hard time trying to have empathy for her.
Well, I do want to say really quick, Hermione, we miss you so much, and we hope you're feeling okay. A lot of people have been getting hit with COVID and everything else this past year. But again, it's 2021, so we're going to have a better year. Hermione says Brandi is a hypocrite. Do you find that to be true, Dana?
Well, when I was watching the show, I felt better about Brandi until you brought that comment up.
This comment?
Yeah.
Again, guys, if you weren't in the room, 150 in the room, go ahead, hit that like button. Brandi said, it's a good impersonation if I do say so myself, and there was no harm done. I would do it again for a good audition. Have a great day.
I mean, that right there, she's going to get so much backlash. It's insane. You would have thought it would have been lesson learned, because I think when Tiffany took her outside, that's what Bravo should do anytime they have some kind of issue with, I mean, short of Leanne, when it's just cruelness, I think they should just put him on the chopping block. But when it opens up a conversation that could be a learning lesson, just like, real Andy of Bravo brought up yesterday, I think that it's a good thing, because our country needs to really have a conversation and learn. And a lot of people should really open up their minds to make a difference in the country.
Well, I want to kind of ask you a question really quick, which is totally off topic. And then we're going to jump right into back into Tiffany Moon and Cameron's garage sale. But Andy Cohen just recently put out a statement saying that he wishes that they wouldn't have fired some of the Vanderpump Rules cast in that moment. And he says that he feels like he did it because that certain time and what was going on in the world. But a lot of people are like, excuse me, you're rescinding the fact that you wanted them fired. That's ridiculous, and it's disgusting of Andy Cohen. But now what you're saying to me, and please, nobody, don't attack me, I'm just the messenger. But to me, it makes a little bit of sense, in the sense of these are hard conversations for people to have. And if we keep just dismissing people and not actually having the conversation, and we only have the conflict but no resolution, the person who is creating the conflict is not learning anything. You're just dismissing them, and then they could potentially do it again. Whereas like Brandi being faced with Tiffany Moon, who is in fact Asian. She's, I believe, Chinese.
Yeah.
She's Chinese.
She came from Beijing. I mean, that's where a lot of my students are that I teach.
Exactly. And I always say this every time you say that you're a teacher. Again, guys, we thank Dana for your service, just along with any of our other people who put out their service out there, because I'm just a simple YouTuber. I'm not really helping anybody. But
my legit background is psychotherapist, but I switched gears and I teach English to Chinese students along with other subjects. And then I also teach students all over the world.
Wow. So then, especially if that's where the majority of your students are, I'm sure this video and this insensitivity probably hits you in a little bit of your own way. Am I wrong?
It hurts my feelings because I teach a lot of young students, and you create a bond with them, especially when you have these children that when you meet them, they don't speak a lick of English. And then after you've had them for a while and they are speaking English, and you learn about their families and you bond with them, you really bond with them heart to heart. You wouldn't think you would online, but there's this deep, endearing, like a soul connection, because you are the one that has taught them English, and now you have, I can't even explain it. So you've created this bond between countries that you don't think you would have a bond in that country, because look at all the conflict between China and America, especially because of the virus.
Right. No, and honestly, again, I don't want to get political or anything like that, but I got to hold back my tongue on this one. But there are a lot of ridiculous statements that are made. And it can't make people coming from, whether it's China or anywhere else, feel the most confident about coming over after these are made on such massive public platforms. That's all I'm going to say.
Right. And think about the potential attitudes they may have with me initially as a, American teacher.
Well, I could see that. Almost like, again, trying to be correct, and then we'll jump right back into the Real Housewives of Dallas.
Right,
and I do want to say this really quick, because everyone, I was trying to find it in the comments and I missed it, and I'm sorry, Gina Maxey. Everyone's saying that they're praying for your son. Please send me, if you need any help or if you need anything, please send me a message on Instagram. And I don't know exactly what's going on, but we're praying for your son too, and sending all the love and light. This is, guys, 2021 is going to be good. We have to nip this stuff in the butt, because 2020 is trying to bleed into 2021, and we're not going to let that happen.
No.
But, there, obviously, after we had the American and Iraqi war and all of that happened, anybody who was a part of Muslim culture or whatever, some people would come over to America and they would be looked at in a ridiculous way when they had no participation. And that's
right.
Absolutely unfair. And imagine how many people who were in America to begin with, who had their certain faiths or came from Iraq or Iran or anywhere else. Imagine them coming over here or already being here and being treated in such a disgusting, hateful way. It's absolutely atrocious.
We have to learn to build bridges and look at people as individuals.
And we also have to learn to be better.
Yeah.
I agree. All right. So, Dana, I'm going to keep you on with me if you don't mind. And I'm going to move on to this kind of ridiculous garage sale, I guess.
Yeah.
So
somebody threw up pink.
Okay, so it looks like somebody threw up pink, but guys, if you missed it, Cameron Westcott threw a ridiculous garage sale, and half of the stuff she was literally putting back in her garage. As she's sending her husband around court and having him do certain things, she's like looking and she's like, "Oh my God, I got this from, let me throw out a place, Saint-Tropez. This is a Swarovski bed frame. This was $5,000, so I'm selling it for only $600." And I'm like, this is the most expensive garage sale that I've seen in my life. It was, again, like somebody threw up pink, and this was where, Carrie called out Cameron because she meets her dog Fancy, and Fancy's barking, going off the charts, and Cameron says, "Oh, he's just overstimulated." But Tiffany Moon already came in hot, and she made a statement like, "You're going to throw a garage sale amid a pandemic?" I mean, that is kind of crazy.
I mean, I don't even understand the pandemic thing, and nothing was separated, and then they have the girls get together and nobody's got masks on, and then Tiffany's talking about that the hospital is code yellow as far as capacity and how real COVID is, and nobody has any. I mean, nobody walked in with a mask. No one seemed concerned about COVID, and you have all the ladies together at a table.
Well, I thought that was interesting too, because even when she pulls up in her Ferrari and they're like, what is this, Rodeo Drive? Or whatever the case is, and Court has his mask on, his mask looks like this. Yeah, so what do you know what I mean? It's like pulled to here.
Yeah.
And you can still be breathed on. It just, honestly, Fancy had the best mask, just to be fair. Fancy was the only one who was really protected. But even though they put out the pink tape and they kind of lined up the neighborhood, it seems like it was still kind of a cluster F of people amid a pandemic. It doesn't seem like it necessarily would have been the most appropriate. And I get where Stephanie Hollman is coming in and she's like, listen, yes, we did a slip and slide with our few kids and it was just me and Brandi and we were tested and this is a TV show. Yeah. Mind you, that's a gathering of less than 10 people, but we really don't know how many production people were there. There was probably at least 5 or 6, just to be fair, plus your 2 boys, 7, 8, plus Brandi and Stephanie, 9, 10, plus her. Okay, so it was probably 10 to 13 people, just to be fair. But this was a lot more than 10 to 13 people. Did you see that line? It was going around the block.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, all I could think in the back of my head is COVID, because my brother and sister-in-law just got COVID. And then her sister and the whole family just got COVID. And all I can think of is, what are you guys doing? Because it's way more contagious now. So I'm wondering if this was in the very beginning.
Okay. Well, were you more surprised about how they were treating COVID and the COVID restrictions, or even maybe a little bit of the hypocrisy behind Tiffany Moon's thinking, just to be fair, for the way that she shows up? And I want to say, even though Stephanie Hollman calls this out, the way that all of the women are immediately hugging each other.
Yeah.
As soon as I found out there was a pandemic, I'm not a touchy-feely person anyways. I don't hug my fiance. I'm just that cold, and I hate that about myself. I'm just not a hugger at all. Like, people try to hug me, and I'm like, I dodge and weave, and that's just me as a person. And a lot of people are like, what happened to you as a child? I'm like, nothing happened. I just don't want to be touched.
I'm so sorry. If you ever saw me in person, you would not be backing away from my hug. I am so sorry.
Well, you would love to hug Jason, because Jason is, my stepmom just came in, Kimmy, and she came in and she's like, I just want to say to you, she's like, son, you are so awkward, but Jason gives the best hugs because he like latches on and really squeezes and embraces you. And I'm like,
you know, a person technically needs so many hugs a day, and it's good for your health and increases your immune system.
I don't know about that during a pandemic.
In your circle.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I guess moving on, what I wanted to say was that it just seemed a little off, that we're going through a pandemic and everybody's hugging each other. And then.
And her physician. That's what bothered me the worst. She's a physician. She's a surgeon. She knows all of this. And she's talking the right talk, but she's not doing the right thing.
Right. It's almost like yeah. I mean, especially you're calling out Cameron, but then you're going to Cameron's garage sale. And you're talking about, like you said, Code Yellow, but then you're participating in this ladies' kind of pool luncheon gathering. I have enough money. It's not going to touch me. Okay. And real quick, before we move on to the next part of this episode being Stephanie's pool party, what did you think about Jen? The redhead? Yes. She reminds me of somebody from Beverly Hills. She reminds me, have you ever been a fan of Keeping Up with the Kardashians? Yeah. Do you remember who, before Bruce Jenner, who is now Caitlyn Jenner, was Caitlyn Jenner? Do you remember when Bruce Jenner met up with the tennis, the girl who was a model and she was a redhead? She was really beautiful. Yeah. I know who she is. That's who she looks like. Okay, that's who she reminds me of. Yeah. Yeah, that's who she reminds me of. She was this famous, beautiful, redheaded model. And anyways, I don't know. I know who she is, and I can't remember her name. The thing is, Jen seems to be very out there, like wanting to be like, hey, look at this. I'm going to pull my pants down and show you my gobbler, which I don't even know what
I
that.
could not believe they went in the bathroom and showed their hoo-hoos to each other.
I didn't even know a hoo-hoo has a gobbler. But then again, I guess I can say that I've never seen one. So I didn't even know that existed. So just to be fair, this is crazy to me, this conversation.
So now we know you're a gold star.
See? There you go. I mean, whatever they call it. I was so confused by this. And they're like, no, yeah, my gobbler and this and that. And Tiffany comes out, and this is where I thought it was funny. Tiffany's like, listen, I studied the whole body, the anatomy and this and that. But I just want to say, like, gobbler is not in gobbler. There's no term called gobbler.
And then they're talking at the table about showing off their gobblers even more, and I can see the servers behind the mask going, oh my God.
Oof. Okay.
I mean, you got to give it to them. Brandi and Stephanie come up with some things that you wouldn't think of people saying at the dinner table.
You know, I'm honestly more with Carrie, and I'm about to bring up some more callers, Nick and Gabriella with us too, but I'm more for Carrie in this when she's like, I'm more about drinking the margaritas and just killing the corona. But Carrie actually initiates at this pool party a conversation where they go around and say the best and the worst part of their experiences during the pandemic. And to be fair, while I thought it was a great conversation to initiate, I also was kind of questioning, you're not really the host. Why are you doing this? Like, why is this not Stephanie? But Stephanie seems very laid back. Like, it's okay, ladies, take the floor. Like, let's have fun. Say whatever you want. And so then I get it from that aspect. But Carrie went on to say that her favorite part was spending all of this time with her children. But her least favorite part was probably, the fact that her business was kind of hindered by the pandemic. But when this was happening, and they were going around the room amid the gobbler situation and all of that, Brandi ended up speaking up and crying at the table, talking about her experience with the backlash she received from that video. And guys, just real quick, again, 191 in the room, let's hit 200. This is Brandi in that video. Thank you so much, Reality Wives, where she was taking her eyes, trying to slant them to look like she was a part of the Asian culture, and she was trying to speak as if she was either from China or Japan or anywhere, you name it, Korea, you name it. I lived for 5 months in Thailand. It was probably the best experience in my life, and I would never give it up for the world. And Jason keeps trying to get me to go to Japan because he lived there for 3 years and he toured there, and he thinks that it was the best place ever. So we'll have to go eventually. But again, I showed this earlier, and Dana said this kind of changed her perspective. I don't want to bash Brandi. I'm trying to understand. But for all of you guys who missed it earlier, Brandi said it's a good impersonation if I do say so myself, and there was no harm done. I would do it again for a dang good reason, or a dang good audition. Have a great day. But then she's sitting there crying at the table about the situation and how remorseful she feels. Tiffany literally is not buying it. She's like, I feel like it's a kid who hits a kid and then cries for hitting the kid because they want to get out of trouble. And I thought that was a good analogy.
Did you notice how when Tiffany is telling her about her experience, and I notice this often, especially when you're counseling someone and they're going back to tell you a childhood memory. Did you notice how Tiffany's voice drops and it sounds childlike when she's telling about how the kids used to make fun of her?
No.
If you watch it again, you'll notice her voice change. And she sounds almost childlike when she's talking about how the kids would do the eyes at her.
Well, she did. I want to say that she did remind Brandi when she pulled her aside and said, I want to talk to you about this. She reminded Brandi about her background, or just told her about her background, about how her parents immigrated from China when she was 6 years old. Her parents were already in America, so she hadn't seen her parents for 3 years. And Tiffany did not know one word of English.
Yeah.
So when Tiffany went to American schools, students actually, the kids, and we all know this, kids can be very mean when they get in their little circles, because sometimes it helps them kind of fit in with their circles more. And it's just kids being sometimes I don't want to say little jerks, but sometimes kids can be just, they don't know yet. And they just think it's funny or it's cute or I'm fitting in and let's pick on this kid because this group of people is picking on this one kid. This kid's alone. So if I want to fit in with them, I'm going to pick on this kid too. And it seems like that's what was happening to Tiffany. So again, I feel like this whole Brandi video struck a chord with her. And I feel like, honestly, rightfully so. I feel like Tiffany is not going to let her off with a slap on the wrist. And even if she does end this conversation that was to be continued with, you know what, it was just a mishap or whatever, Tiffany's going to have a close eye on Brandi.
I mean, it was sad and touching that she divulged that to her. And I think it was really necessary to try to get Brandi to open her eyes to why it hurt and affected people. So she wouldn't be so ignorant. And it wouldn't be just about, man, I've really caught this backlash and I wanted to hurt myself because of it. Because she was deflecting back to herself, to get sympathy for what she done.
Right. No, I agree with you. Guys, we have 36 minutes in the room. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can't bring up as many callers as possible. And then if we have any mic flack, I'm sorry, I'll just have to drop you down. But while we have so many people in the room too, guys, I want to remind everybody at 1:30, we are going live with Fem Tarot for the first ever on my channel, 1 hour extended version of just complete tarot card readings. It's going to be lightning readings. So any and all of you are more than welcome to call in, ask one question about health, finances, love, relationships, 2021, whatever you want to ask. You're more than welcome to call in and ask, or even post your questions in the comments. And if we don't have callers, we'll take questions in the comments. But more than likely, we're going to go through the callers first just because they're sitting in the room. But
I have to tell you, Deandra just got out of the hospital recently.
Yeah.
She hurt her ankle and then she ends up in the hospital sick. So I send her a note and tell her that I'm so glad that she's home out of the hospital and that I had been praying for her and, blessings of health and all that other stuff. And she was cooking some meal and I told her I'd love to have that recipe. She sent me a note and told me she was so glad to be home and, a year of happiness and all this other stuff, and that soon she'd go ahead and post that recipe. And how sweet the note was that I sent her.
Yeah, see, I feel like this is just a very sweet family. I think that, especially they just, even Mama D, she was so accessible and just so easy to talk with. I feel, we can't forget, just because they're on TV, they're not real people.
Right, but I was shocked that she actually sent me a note.
Well, there we go, guys. Message Deandra Simmons. Let's go ahead and bring up Gabriella and Nick.
Hi.
Hi, Gabriella. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Hey. All right. I'm going to see also if we can fit in one more.
How are you doing?
Good. Good. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
All right. So I'm going to go in order from the room. I'm going to start with Gabriella, then Nick, and then Sarah. Gabriella, what was the main topic that you wanted to call in and chime in about?
Oh, hello from Paris. I'm in France now. Okay. And I'm sorry for my English because I have a very big French accent.
No, I love it.
I'm sorry. But I was very touched with the end of the episode with Tiffany when she explained about her migration. And I was very upset against Brandi because I loved her. I love Brandi because she was a redhead. She had a very tough life before, and she was this little complex of inferiority behind all these girls. But when I see this video, I was very disappointed by her because she was a redhead. She has bullying against her, and she do that to someone else. It breaks my heart because she knows suffers the pain. And when I heard Tiffany about her migration, she breaks my heart in two.
Well, just to be fair, Gabriella, I want to chime in on this really quick. I had a friend that I went to college with at Chattanooga Community College. Yes, guys, I went to community college, which is, listen, I'm not ashamed of it. Chattanooga State Community College. I met one of my first friends in Tennessee. Her name was Macy DeShane Bookout. She was on MTV's Teen Mom, and she was a redhead. And a lot of people used to tell her gingers do not have souls and they would pick on her. And even in college, they would pick on her. And I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. But for Brandi, she seems to own being a redhead. And I agree with you, Gabriella, that this is, you know, you should, I'm sure at one time or another, she experienced some sort of bullying for being a redhead. So why would she think to make a silly video about being Asian?
Maybe for me, because this woman all live in bubble, but maybe not Mamadi, because Mamadi is very aware of everything, and Deandra also. But this woman is living in bubble, and Tiffany, she has working so hard. She has so pain to what she have now. But Brandi is not, in French we would calling mijaurée. Mijaurée, she was, she doesn't know what she makes, but she's very nice in her heart. And I think it's that. But for me, this captation in this episode, she makes me thinking about that. And in France, it's you have a little kid in Paris so much, a Chinese kid, but they don't experiment with bullying because the kids live with other and it's very melting pot. But I was very disappointed by that. It's just a segment. And the garage sales also. Why Cameron did she that? I don't know. What did she that she sells everything? It's very mysterious for me.
Oh, I get it. Gabriella, there's a little flock on your mic. I'm going to bring up another caller. Just let's see if we can keep it all in. Hi, that hangry mama. Hi. Let's see if we can keep it all in without having any backlash, because this is a big panel. But let me see. All right, I'm going to go to you next, Nick. Nick, what was the main topic you want to call in and chime in on? Hi, Happy New Year.
Thank you. I was just thinking about, I was watching last night and I was thinking of that comment where she said she would do it again. And she's sitting there crying. And then I thought back to Potomac when Andy was like, Monique, you don't seem remorseful. And Monique said, do I need to cry to seem like I'm remorseful? And then I'm looking at Brandi. I'm like, just because you crying, that don't make me think you're sorry, because you just said you would do it again. So then, and then when Tiffany was telling her about how she got picked on for her eyes, let Tiffany, if Tiffany's crying, she has a right to cry, because this could be traumatic to her and how she grew up and how she came up. Like, a lot of people get bullied for their cultural backgrounds. So Tiffany is allowed to cry when she is expressing this to Brandi, like, this is why this is offending me. But then Brandy's sitting there crying, and I'm like, this is not the time for you to cry. It's time to listen. It's time to listen. And then the only thing I call into question is when you, not you, but certain people say, like, well, we should keep them on so we can have these conversations. Leanne did an interview recently, and she said after the reunion, she sat down with Carrie and they like talked the situation out, and now they get along, they're good. So then the only thing that for me, like, if the person was coming back after a racist scandal like that, what I would call into question is, would they really be taking accountability? Because they would still be on the Bravo paycheck. They're getting paid to come back. So it's like, are they faking that they feel sorry just to get that paycheck, or are they genuinely sorry for their actions? You get what I'm saying?
No, of course. And honestly, just to be fair, I did an interview with Candace Dillard Bassett way back before all of the aggressive tweets came out towards the gay community or anything else that she said that she did apologize for. And I asked her, I said, you know, right now it's 2020 and this is the year of cancel culture. How do you feel about a lot of these Bravo celebrities being fired? And she said, absolutely, 100%. These people need to be held accountable and they should be fired. Just like Dana said, you know, I feel like instead of always being fired, maybe there should be some conversations like the one that's being had between Brandi and Tiffany. We have to pick, and it's not up to us to pick because we're not on NBC and Bravo's, you know, pay scale, but we have to pick a line of what we want. Do we want the people to just be fired and held accountable, and then we never get this conversation to be had to show some sort of resolution and show them where they were wrong, kind of facing the person that they wronged? Or do you let them have the conversation and kind of hash it out?
I think
And
Nick, I think if it's done out of cruelty, they should be fired.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, the way Leanne did it, and again, I did my interview with Leanne, and she was nothing but sweet to me, but she also didn't call me a chirping Mexican and all of these really outlandish, ridiculous things. I think when you do it repetitively, that's a problem. I think when you do it in the first place, that's a problem. But when you do it repetitively, it's like you know exactly what you're doing. You can't apologize for that.
So I think something that we need to remember, this is Dallas. Dallas is a whole different crew. Just the Southern mentality that Texas is the best. It really is bred into you growing up. I'm from Oklahoma, and so very close to where Stephanie grew up.
My mom lived in Tulsa.
Yeah, I grew up in Owasso.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she's really close, but you have to remember, this is deep. This is not, they may not view it as something bad until it's brought into the public spotlight, because there's still that deep-rooted, I don't want to say, it's not necessarily hatred, but it's just something that permeates this culture that we have in the South. So until it's brought to light in a public forum, she may have not thought it was bad. That's the sad part. Because
she was just raised to think that, you know, these kind of silly statements or the joking about slanting her eyes or anything else, that it's cute, it's funny.
She initially said she was making fun of herself because her eyes are so small and slanted. So she went there, which was a bad place. Not making excuses for her because it was terrible.
Okay. I want to ask Sarah Arrington if she's still here. I see her mic is muted. Sarah, do you have a comment on this?
Yeah, I think with Brandi, I think there's a maturity level that's a little different than maybe some of the other cast members.
Agree.
I think, you know, I agree with that hangry mama comment. But yeah, I think it could have to do with the way maybe she, you know, where she came from, and but I think that she probably does feel like genuinely remorseful. I think that maybe a part of her just maybe didn't know any. I'm not going to say she didn't know any better, but I don't think she was really thinking about it. With what's gone on this past year, a lot of things have been brought to light, and people are considering, you know, how powerful their words can impact others, and yeah. I think people didn't really realize how hurtful, like maybe, you know, something like, you know, children, for example, they just harmlessly, you know, they poke fun, you know, they do things. I mean, I probably said things when I was young that I would like be, you know, just mortified to even admit, you know, now, but you know, having them have to go through that through the public, it's sad, and I kind of
but can you see though, really quick, Sarah, where people might, maybe the viewers and the fans might be having a really hard problem with Brandi apologizing after putting out this ridiculous statement?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see this statement.
Yeah, so again, for anybody, guys, 202 in the room, go ahead and hit that like button. But when Brandi said it's a good impersonation, if I do say so myself, and there was no harm done, I would do it again for a dang good audition. Have a great day. I think that's where people are like, okay, you know what you did was wrong. Then you said you'd do it again. That's where people are having a hard time understanding, you know, that her tears on Bravo.
Yeah, in that case, I think that her tears are more that she got such negative backlash. If she said, I didn't even see that statement until you just put it up. Was that statement recent, or was that like at the time?
I'll have to go back and look and see when it was, and I'll post it on my community post. But
from what I remember, it was before like articles were calling it out. It was like right before the articles got onto it. She had said it then, but then so I think she took it down after like the articles were like, oh, this video resurfaced and this is her response. And then I think that's probably when it started hitting. Because
And
I
that's the
remember
thing,
the
too.
day that the video resurfaced.
You can't, as a public figure, it's just like Erica Girardi, Erica Jane, Erica Chahoy, whatever you want to call her, going out and just exposing this justice woman who, for hooking up with her husband and putting the phone number out there, even though it was up for like 37 minutes, you put it up there. You're a public figure and you put it out into the internet. You have to know that somebody is waiting for your move, your next move on the internet, to screen grab that, take that, and then just run it through the blogs. That's exactly what's going to happen.
But maybe Brandi, she tears in the show because she was afraid of the consequences against her. Maybe it's not. It's a supposition. I don't make a real accusation, but maybe she faces all the consequences after her statement, and she say, "Oh my God, I did a big mistake. It's very bad. I must to make a move now to save my place," because she saw what is going on to Leanne. And Leanne, in France, you can't to say that in the TV because you have the justice against you. It's calling racial insult. You can't do that. In France, it's forbidden. You can't to say the N word. You can't be racist in TV. And
well, and it's not even just Leanne. You know, Leanne was one of them, but then also the Vanderpump Rules cast. We lost 4 people because of their silly remarks. And
but for me, maybe Brandi, she was afraid, and I must to make amend, and she tried to make amend, but maybe is that I don't want to be bad in my thinking, but maybe she was afraid to lose her place. It's possible.
Rightfully so. That angry mama, you look like you have something you want to say.
Oh, I do. I think that Brandi just got so much positive feedback from her impressions in the past, and it got her attention. So she's like, okay, I'm going to spin this and make it seem like I did it because it was funny, because she was trying to hide the fact of what it really was. And so I think it was just, she saw that she got attention, and so she did. That's why she said that.
Okay.
And in this, I feel like after watching the episode, I had a problem with the dialogue of before. It was early in the episode. They showed a never before scene last night where Brandi and Stephanie were both crying about it, and then Stephanie was like, she went to a rehab center, and I feel like it's a certain way they're talking that I don't like, because I think there's taking accountability for what you do, but then there's certain levels where it feels like you're making excuses in the process, because it's like, if you go into rehab because you made a racist comment, what's rehab gonna do? Like, if you went because of the negative backlash, that's one thing. You can say, I felt I had negative thoughts about myself because of the backlash that I got for this comment I made. That's one thing. But when people were going, because people weren't only going to Brandi about the situation, they went to Stephanie too. And Stephanie was saying something like, well, she feels bad for her actions. She checked herself into a mental institution or rehab, whatever she said. And it's like, it feels like it's making an excuse. And I don't want to say that that's intentionally what they were doing, but it's just a certain way of narrative and dialogue that you have to be careful of. Because if you put those two in the same thing, you're going to say, it's going to make you question, is the reason that she's putting out there she went to rehab because of her racist comment? Because it's like, rehab for racism? That doesn't make sense.
Well, real quick, I want to say before we go around the room, because we are approaching our hour, for everybody to say what they're looking forward to most next episode, I want to ask Nick one thing, which is, obviously, you have to handle this whole conversation with just gloves and be super appropriate and just kind of handle it with care, because it's not a situation that anybody should be put in to begin with. You know, like the conversation of race or religion or culture or whatever the case is, if you go out there and you make yourself look like a clown and you're attacking whatever you're attacking, you should definitely have to answer for it. But what I want to ask you, Nick, is because you seem to feel like Brandi seeking some sort of treatment or whatever, that's not enough. For anybody who has made the mistake in the past, who has attacked religion, race, culture, what is the appropriate way to show that they apologize and they understand that what they did is wrong and that they can show that they can be a better person.
I feel like if we just watched the premiere and of course she had the conversation with Tiffany, then a simple apology, like explain what you did, she did that, and the apology that comes, and then it's like, okay, we can say that she's remorseful for her actions. But like I was saying, it's just a problem with the things that happened before and during. Before we got to the actual apology, it was just a lot of crying going on, and it's just like I don't want to say that they're trying to be victims, but I don't know if it's editing or what, but it can come off like I'm trying to be the victim in the situation because I'm getting negative backlash, if you get what I'm saying.
Right.
And
Okay.
so it's just a matter of like Candace, when she was in her situation over the old tweet she made, she issued an apology, and we didn't see like crying. We didn't see like, I didn't mean to do that. She was just like, you know what I did was wrong. I am much more educated on the topic, based off of my comments that I have made, and I'm willing to like change moving forward. We didn't have to see all of this. You know what I mean? Do you get what I'm like reaching for?
I see what
Like
you're
not, and it just like what I said with the whole what Monique said, crying doesn't equal remorse. Because when everybody's crying, saying the same thing, it just gets to a point where it's like, are you really remorse? Now, some people they genuinely do cry if they feel bad for what they did.
I was
I
about to
do,
say
like
some people. I'm an overly listen. I'm a Cancer. I'm overly I'll cry at a drop of a
I'm a
dime.
Cancer too.
You know,
Like
but
you can come to me and be like, I was offended that you did this. I'll be like, what? Oh my gosh, no, I didn't mean to. All right, I have a quick story. It's really quick. So I had said something to one of my teachers. I was like, you're kind of monotone. And I said it in a joking way, but then the teacher laughed at it. But everybody was the students were getting offended, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't mean it that way. And like I kept my cool in the actual class, but after class, I just broke out crying. I was like, I didn't mean to like try to be mean to the teacher.
yeah, see, and some of us exactly. We all have our different emotional ways of, I think, assessing situations. But no, I just wanted to ask you that, Nick, because I feel like you do have opinions on this situation. So I thought it was fair. But now, real quick, since we only have 3 minutes left in the room, I want to go around. I'm going to start with Dana, hit Gabriella, then Sarah, and then end with Nick. What are we looking forward to most next episode? Dana, please.
I want to get to know Tiffany more because I'm interested about this whole, Mama D and Tiffany relationship. And I'm curious about the shaman and Deandra. I thought that was real interesting that she's going to a shaman.
Yeah, I like that. And Gabriella?
I was interested to see Tiffany with Cameron because Cameron is really intelligent. I want to see her between Tiffany, what's going on between these two. It's and the new girl, maybe. Tiffany with these two women,
Jen.
is very smart.
Okay. And then Sarah.
Oh, I just like to watch. I like to watch all of it. But but I did want to just say real quick that a comment about what Nick said. I mean, Stassi and Kristen both issued statements of apology, but a lot of people didn't find that genuine or enough. And I was just curious what he thought about that. But I guess if you're out of time, you could save it for another time.
I'll let Nick answer that really quick. We have about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Go ahead, Nick.
I didn't see like the official statement, but I will say the only time that I was like question mark was when she went on the Tamron Hall show and she was like, I have a diversity coach. I was like, what? So I think after that, it's like I guess a lot of people, it would be hard for them to find the apology because they have it like instilled in their minds, like, oh, she's not really sorry. But I look for the statement, and I think we all have room to grow. So I'm not as hard about the situation.
I like that. And Nick, what are you looking forward to most next episode?
I didn't see the preview, but I'm excited for all the theme parties. I heard there's a Dallas theme party. I'm excited to see how Tiffany fits in the group, but I'm also excited to see where is Carrie's role in this season. Well, Carrie Duber, because I love her, but also Carrie, the new Carrie, because I didn't really feel like she fit in as much in her first season. So I'm like, is the second season gonna be her Siggy Flicker season, or is it gonna be like her Monique season where she really starts to feel herself more?
I like that. And, you know, for me, honestly, I'm curious to see how much of this conversation about Brandi's video plays into the whole season. But I also want to see Tiffany Moon because, again, I feel like she's coming out guns blazing. Like, she is ready. She's been coached by Mama D. She's been coached by Andy Cohen. Andy Cohen flew down from Aspen to hire her. I'm curious how this plays out. But guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Today we are going live at 1:30, which is in an hour and 30 minutes with Fem Tarot. She's doing lightning tarot card readings. So Nick, Sarah, the Hangry Mama, Gabriella, Dana, anyone who wants to call in, guys, anybody in the chat, if you guys call in, you're more than welcome to ask one question about health, finances, love, 2021, your relationship. And when I tell you, this woman is so on point, I'm not even kidding. Like, I don't boast about people who I don't believe in. And just to give you guys some insight, she told me back in October, I was going to have a hard month starting October 15th. I don't want to go into what happened, but I had a hard month starting October 15th. And then in December, she told me that somebody was going to try to take me out on YouTube. And she did this she did it on my public live. And in December, that's exactly what happened. So, I mean, this woman is so spot on and she's had some great readings. So if you guys are around, please go ahead and call in, ask a question. We never do an hour, but today we're going to do an hour instead of 30 minutes because we always get so many calls and we're trying to fit everybody in. So I hope we can get all of you guys. And we're at an hour and 1 minute. So I guess I passed it, but thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate you guys and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.